Welcome to this Esri Developer Summit session on the ArcGIS Pro SDK for .NET, demonstrating extensibility with partner add-ins. My name is Christopher Zent, and I'm a product manager on the desktop team at Esri, where I focus on the ArcGIS Pro SDK. In this session, we'll take a look at the ArcGIS Pro SDK and give you an introduction to Pro add-ins. We'll then get into the main part of the session, which is taking a look at Pro Extensibility through partner add-ins. We'll take a look at 3 add-ins from Esri Business Partners. First, we'll take a look at the Cyclorama StreetSmart add-in, which emphasizes visualizing and leveraging street-level imagery. Next, we'll take a look at the Geosoft Tools add-in, which is focused on streamlining the use of their raster data. Then we'll take a look at the Voyager search add-in, which allows you to use search tools to find and incorporate online data into ArcGIS Pro. We'll end the session looking at some different resources for your work in building Pro add-ins. All right, let's get started with an overview of the SDK and Pro add-ins. The ArcGIS Pro SDK for Microsoft.NET provides templates and tools which allow you to streamline the development of Pro add-ins. You're going to be working in Microsoft Visual Studio. It's a modern framework which allows you to use .NET and work in WPF, MVVM. In the screenshots here, you can see some of the project templates and item templates which are provided by the SDK. So there's 4 different development patterns that are part of the SDK, and 2 of those are our main patterns, which we'll be focusing on. Add-ins, which allow you to develop new tools and functionality and customize the user interface. It allows you to extend the Pro ribbon, add in your own controls, create your own dock panes, and really extend the overall user interface as you need for your specific workflows. The screenshots here are of a couple partner add-ins. The first on the left is the StreetSmart add-in by Cyclone, which will be our first demonstration that we'll take a look at. The screenshot on the right is another add-in provided by Experdat. It's their unconventionals analyst. And both of these add-ins, I should mention, are available in the ArcGIS marketplace. The second pattern is configurations. And these allow you to have a whole nother level of customization. It provides all of the capabilities of traditional add-ins, plus the ability to have an overall customized startup experience for Pro. So you could have a custom splash screen, a custom start page, run custom logic, and essentially streamline the application as well. Removing different tabs off of the ribbon and focusing on just the tools and workflow that are needed for your application. Finally, there's 2 additional patterns that are available. The plugin data sources pattern, which allows you to make a custom data source available for use in the Pro UI. So if you have a custom data source, you could incorporate it into Pro as a feature layer or as a standalone table. Finally, there are core host applications. This allows you to create your own standalone application, which is either a console or WPF application. It provides limited API access, so you can access the geometry and geodatabase APIs. So what can you do with Pro add-ins, which we're going to be taking a look at in this session? So if you've been working with traditional ArcObjects SDK and traditional ArcGIS Desktop, you will have the capability to do very similar things with ArcGIS Pro, customizing using the framework. And then we're taking a look at here just some of the different API categories. Content, work with many different editing capabilities, the geodatabase, geometry, run geoprocessing tools, and build layouts. You'll also be able to author maps and work with your map views, map exploration. You can work with maps and scenes and build different ways of creating custom metadata forms using the metadata toolkit, work with raster API, the new real-time API, sharing, tasks, and the utility network. The ArcGIS Pro SDK has an extensive amount of documentation and tutorials that are available to you. Also, one of the biggest resources is the over 175 samples that are available online on GitHub. These screenshots are just a few of the different samples that are available, some focusing on scene layers, the real-time stream layers API, and map exploration. All of our SDK releases are in sync with ArcGIS Pro, and I'd just like to show you some of the new enhancements at 2.5, which came out in February. There are enhancements to the Geometry API, which provide developers with the ability to create workflows for multi-patch editing. There's also enhancements to the Content API, where you can now create custom browse filters. These work together with custom items. There is now the pre-release of the Parcel Fabric API available at 2.5, which allows developers to take a look at some of the capabilities of this new API, which will be fully released at 2.6. Finally, there's updates to many of the different existing APIs with enhancements to editing, geodatabase, map authoring, mapping, and raster APIs. As well, we have updates to all the documentation with all of these new enhancements. All right, let's get started with taking a look at some of our add-ins. So the discussion points for each of these add-ins that we'll take a look at. We'll cover an overview of the add-in. We'll then take a look at how it extends ArcGIS Pro specifically. We'll then review a video demonstration, which allows you to see how these customizations are actually working inside of ArcGIS Pro. And then we'll review some of the Pro APIs that were used and leveraged and the available resources that you have available to you to build similar capabilities using the SDK. All right, so let's get started with our first review. Our first add-in is the Cyclorama StreetSmart add-in. So Cyclone is an Esri Business Partner, and they've developed their StreetSmart add-in with an audience in mind of local government, transportation, and utilities. The focus areas, as you'll see, are on data collection directly within ArcGIS Pro, leveraging their Cyclone imagery, and using map exploration and visualization capabilities inside of Pro. The emphasis here is to use these capabilities in this extension to ArcGIS Pro to provide for visualization of their Geocyclorama imagery, provide data collection and measurement workflows inside of Pro. So they've configured different service connections and renderings for their StreetSmart layers inside of the map views. You're going to see how they use real-time integration between the Pro map view and the Geocyclorama imagery views, which are provided inside of a dock pane. It then allows you to see how they're capturing new features through the add-in, leveraging that imagery, and how it's integrated with a traditional map view. Finally, they have settings that have been integrated throughout Pro, so you can log into their Cyclomedia server, be able to take advantage of different settings throughout the Pro user interface to customize the overall experience. The Cyclomedia StreetSmart add-in provides its connection and other settings here off the Project tab. Connection information, configurations, as well as the agreement are all here off of the Backstage, as well as the StreetSmart help is accessible here launching a PDF. The add-in itself also has its own custom tab with a number of controls available to you. The first is the one that actually is going to add the recording layer, which provides the access to what are called geocycloramas. You'll see one of those in just a moment. We'll zoom into this intersection, and using the Open Location tool, we'll click on one of the recording points, which opens up the Cyclorama Viewer. Inside the viewer is a 360-degree Geocyclorama view, which has been captured by one of the Cyclorama vehicles. As you can see, the red dots represent signage in the area, and this is part of the asset data capture aspect of the tool. Looking at the viewer a little bit more, you can see that you can look at different views that have been pre-recorded. And here's the overlay, which allows you to turn on and off different layers that actually are participating in the map view in the table of contents. So it's a very interesting integration, and also shows how you can use some of this for the unique data capture and asset capture aspects of the tool. So lots of controls and capabilities within the actual Cyclorama Viewer. And again, it's integrated really well that you can select points within the view and see them reflected as selected inside of the map view. So taking a look at that a couple times. You also have the ability to open two of the Cyclorama viewers at once, and that can help different scenarios for data capture, especially if you're wanting to verify and confirm the exact location of an asset that you're looking to capture. Let's now take a look at how you would actually do some of this asset data capture. Again, the red dots are showing the different signage for this street, and you can see that there is one here that has not been captured. There's no red point in the Geocyclorama view. So all you need to do is open up here the editing create feature pane. And so that then, once you select one of the layers that you want to capture, creates a whole new measure mode inside the Cyclorama viewer. Here you can see the crosshairs coming up, and now you can actually select that sign, click on it, and you can see the point has been added here on the map view as well. Confirm the location of that capture, and you can see that you now have a selected new feature inside the map view rendered there. And so closing that, you can see, removing the measure mode, you can see a point has been added, and there's the point inside the Cyclorama viewer. In the same way, you can go and also capture area features. And so here's an example of moving on and capturing an area, and say we're going to capture the location of this crosswalk. And it's the same sort of interaction. Now you're going to be capturing a polygon. Each time you click one of the vertices, you can see the vertices reflected inside the map view. So it's another sort of interesting sort of interaction, nice tight integration of the environment with the map view. And completing now that polygon. And now we'll close out of the measuring mode. The team has also created their own custom setting here in the Map Properties dialog. Here you can see StreetSmart, and you can get and set coordinate system information for the recording layer and the Cyclorama viewer. So it's a nice customization of that setting in an existing dialog. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the ways that the add-in extended ArcGIS Pro. So as you saw, they have a feature service recording layer for selection and editing from the Geocycloramas, which you saw, which were embedded inside of a custom dock pane. That dock pane also has been provided with a series of tools which allow for pro editing and exploration capabilities inside of the Geocyclorama, and how it's integrated directly with the map view. Settings, as you saw, also provide for connections to their server, and it's integrated throughout Pro at the project, map, and layer level. So some of the main Pro APIs that were used. First is map exploration, shows how it was integrated with 2D map views and their 3D Geocyclorama visualization. I'd just like to call out one sample for each of these demonstrations. The one that might be most useful to you as you get started using the SDK and some of these capabilities is the using street side imagery. So now I'm going to switch over to the ArcGIS Pro SDK landing page. Here I just want to show you here at pro.arcgis.com, and by clicking on the SDK tab, you can get access to the Pro SDK information. So here you can see some of the quick links to how to install the SDK, what's new in 2.5, the API reference, the community samples, which we'll look at in just a moment, and all the documentation. For each one of these APIs, I want to show you down here in this Learn Key Concepts section, we have some of the APIs with some quick links to those areas. And as I just mentioned, map exploration, you could click here and get to the map exploration information. All right, so let's take a look at that first sample. Here you can see our community samples page. We have over 175 community samples, and they've been categorized by the API content categories. As I mentioned, for map exploration, we'll click on that, and you can see this full listing of all the community samples in the map exploration category, and there's several of them. The one that I mentioned that I'd like to show you here is the Bing Street Side sample. And for each one of our add-ins, there's a walkthrough that's provided here in the Markdown. And as you scroll down, you can see some of the screenshots of what you'll see. There's going to be a custom tab that's provided. And once you get a Bing street level imagery key, get a trial online from Microsoft, you can begin to start using this capability and integrating it with the 2D view and the street level imagery. So you could try that out using the community sample that's available. Let's take a look at some of the other sections here. The editing API was used in the add-in, and it allows you to see how you can create features in layers, and there's capturing directly from the Cyclorama Viewer. The framework category, you can see that the team built a series of custom tabs, buttons, tools, and used custom properties and settings throughout the application. And finally, for the geodatabase, this area is definitely leveraged with all of the different feature classes and selections that the team was actually using. All right, so that's our first add-in. Let's move on and take a look at the Geosoft Tools add-in. It provides tools for streamlining Geosoft grids data import and using those inside of ArcGIS Pro. This add-in was developed by Geosoft, another Esri partner. And the audience here is mining, natural resources, and oil and gas. So the focus areas for this add-in are on map exploration, subsurface visualization, and 3D. So the emphasis of this add-in is to provide tools for search, conversion, import, and display of Geosoft raster files and other geoscience data sets from Geosoft within ArcGIS Pro. It extends Pro by integrating the geoscience data search tools directly from within Pro and be able to access those in order to find and download global data sets. Next, there are geoprocessing tools that allow you to convert one or multiple Geosoft raster files into Esri formats and directly begin using those inside of Pro. Then there are tools to apply standard color methods for raster data files, and the ability to import Geosoft sections directly into 3D scenes. All right, let's take a look at this demonstration of Geosoft Tools. The Geosoft Tools add-in provides its own custom tab, which organizes its controls into two groups. The Tools group provides the ability to convert, search for and find, manage connections, and more. You also have the ability to manage profiles and help. Let's look at the interface for finding geoscience data. This provides a really unique sort of way of searching for data sets in ArcGIS Online and more, and connecting to the Geosoft servers. Searching here in a specific area here in the Northwest, you can search on magnetic data. We've found it. We're now going to save a package, just this specific dataset area. Add it to the download manager, as you can see, saving it down. And now when we click download, we're actually going to save the file onto our machine. And it automatically removes the pane and adds that package here. Here's the import data package running. And once the grid layer is available in the map view, you can see activated a new group for raster appearance on the UI. And we'll click the histogram view, and that updates the layer there. Here's log linear, and the ability to add a quick hill shade for some additional contrast to view the data. Overall, it really works really quickly. The ability to update these settings is actually really nice. The contextual nature, again, working with conditions and states to just give you the tools that you're looking for is a real nice use of an add-in. Everything works really well. Now moving over here to a scene, you can see that another new tool appears when you have a scene activated. That's the ability to configure the scene for the subsurface navigation. We're going to add some additional grid layers here, which are actually on the machine, and run the import of those. You can see as they're brought in, they're being able to be viewed here in the scene. And this is going to show you some 3D section data. We're actually going to navigate this a little bit. Again, that tool that configures scene for subsurface navigation runs a number of settings on the scene to make it easier to view. And we've set the base map and some of these other views at 50% transparency, so you can see the underground subsurface sections that we've imported. Just navigating around here, you can see that you can also zoom in under the surface and get an idea of how some of that data actually looks and works as we explore under the surface. And coming back above, adding some of those 2D layers again back to our view. All right, and it works really nicely in terms of the ability to import all that and start working with it quickly. Here's the custom access to the Geosoft portals and the ability to import the data package. Again, that was another one of the controls here, and the ability to import the Geosoft colors if you wanted to do that. And the ability to actually check for updates to the add-in online. Okay, let's take a look at some of the ways that the Geosoft Tools add-in extended ArcGIS Pro using the SDK and the Pro APIs. First, the Geosoft Connect was used for data access, search, and add-in licensing, and it was integrated with ArcGIS Pro, as you saw. Next, there were geoprocessing tools, which allowed for the importing of the Geosoft datasets and converting those grid raster files into a format that could be immediately used within the maps. Finally, there were tools for raster appearance and the working with 3D sections and importing those and configuring them inside of the scenes. So the main Pro APIs that were used in creating all of these capabilities, I want to walk through some of those here. First, the raster API. You can see that the team was working extensively with raster data sets. As before, I want to call out another sample that can provide you some guidance on how to get started working with and applying raster colorizer definitions, similar to some of those that you saw in the demonstration. Here is the change colorizer for raster layer sample. This is found inside of the raster category in the community samples. And as you can see, you can define raster colorizers and apply those to the raster layers. And see that the sample add-in provides you a couple tools in a combo box drop down to actually select some of those and apply them. All right, so this is another great sample that you can get and download here directly from the community samples. Okay, so next, the map authoring API. The team did work with raster data layer appearance and renderers. And framework, team also set up a custom tab for their controls and how you would manage the workflow there, and showed how you can integrate a series of different custom tools on that custom tab. Finally, the team did also work with the Geodatabase API, working with different data sets and feature layers. Okay, let's move on to our last add-in demonstration. And we're going to look at the Voyager search add-in, which allows you to integrate search tools for finding and integrating public online data. Developed by Esri partner Voyager Search, the audience for this add-in is just general ArcGIS Pro users who want to get access to all the different online data that's available and can be used within ArcGIS Pro. So the focus areas really emphasize search, data exploration, and map authoring. So let's look at the emphasis of the Voyager search add-in. It provides data search and filter tools for accessing the Voyager ODN, or Open Data Network, for publicly available data sources, and provides map tools to manage those searches and allow you to work with visualizing and working with the results. It extends Pro by allowing for the management of those connections to the Voyager data service. The team has defined a series of doc panes for defining data filters and viewing the search results based on keywords and operators. And you can get details and add that content to your map directly from the custom doc panes. They also have a series of map tools for defining searches in the map view. And you can work with saved searches and different user settings. Okay, let's take a look at the demonstration. The Voyager search add-in provides its own custom tab, where controls have been organized into different groups, such as query tools, the results of queries, the ability to visualize those results, save searches, and so on. Here's the configuration group, the ability to establish and manage connections. Once you've set one up, you can save it and then launch it as we're doing here. You can see that activity, the add-in is actually running a process. We're now connected, and you can see that you can take advantage of some saved searches. Over here, there's the preferences, and that dialog provides the ability to set some of those up. Here's the search pane, where you'll be doing most of your work and visualizing and interacting with your map views. We're currently looking in the cards view. There's also the table and grid results views. When you click on a card, you have the ability to zoom to the extent of that service that you're going to add it to the map, and view details. Let's put in some parameters here for weather, California, and where there's a layer file potentially associated with that. Now we're going to open up the filters pane. Here you can take a look at how you can set all these different types of filters, which the add-in provides, which is related to all the different online services that are available. Let's float this so we can see how both of them are interacting together as we do some different searches. And we'll filter this just on ArcGIS Online services. And looking at the search pane, you can see some of the different data set results. Click on those and see some of the details. Looking here again, this is the way that you can visualize some of those results. Let's look at the table view and see that some of those, a lot more information is provided, and you can scroll down through that. Looking at the grid view, you can see that a lot of the thumbnails associated with each one are clearly available. Depending upon the type of search that you're doing, one is going to be potentially more valuable than the other. The cards view, as you can see, does provide a good bit of information. All right, so let's look at adding one of these and how the interface works. You can see that by getting more detailed information, it brings up the browser, and you can see information about this NOAA NextRad layer. Now let's add that to the map. See that some interaction here with the map view to get that layer added in. And so taking a look again at how this works, now we're going to take a look at the map tools. The map tools allow you to work with some of the different layers and control and manage those searches. As you can see, we're zooming over here to the Pacific Northwest, and you can see that the search pane results have been updating to within what's actually within that extent. Let's take a look at the Washington State DOT National Highway System routes, and then we'll take a look at adding that to our map. Again, as you're zooming in, again, you can see how some of the search results are being updated. Let's now search on parks in the area. You can see some of the cards that are associated with some of those. Some trails in the area as well. Adding that in, you can see how it's very easy to add and search for appropriate layers for you based upon what you're trying to do. And now zooming into this area, so a few layers that make sense for us to find some common points of interest here. And as we zoom in and zoom out, it's updating those based upon those extents. Let's look at some of the ways that the Voyager search add-in extended ArcGIS Pro using the SDK and APIs. So there, as you saw, there was a custom search and filter dock pane, which allowed for the management of the settings and viewing all of the different results. Team provided a series of ways for actually visualizing those within that search dock pane, and providing ways of keyword searches and that sort of thing to bring the results that were pertinent to the search within view and allow them to add it to the map view. So the map tools for defining the spatial extents of those searches and making selections were also available in another dock pane, and they were integrated together. The team also developed a custom ribbon tab with tools for updating the searches and viewing the results. So let's look at the main Pro APIs that the team used. Team extensively used the map authoring API because they were working so much with that online content and bringing it into the map views, adding those layers to the maps from multiple data sources. I'd like to show you a sample that allows you to look at how you could change the base map and add a new layer to the active map, similar to the way that it was done in the demonstration. Here's a sample. It's called Mapping Sample Add-ins, which provides the ability to change the base map layer and add a new layer to the active map. And this, you'll find, is part of the map authoring category, a series with several other samples that you could take advantage of. Next, map exploration was another API area that the team took advantage of. The visualization tools and map tools are working directly with the map. The team also worked extensively with framework, and again, building out that custom tab. As you saw, the team used doc panes extensively for integration, working with the different searches, and they included drag and drop functionality as well. So for more information, you can take a look at these links here. I'd like to thank Cyclomedia, Geosoft, and Voyager Search for the ability to present their add-ins, as they really emphasize how Pro can be extended through the SDK. In this last section, I'd like to show you some of the Pro SDK resources available for your work as you get started building add-ins. First, there's the Pro SDK landing page, which you saw earlier in the session. It contains quick links to the API reference, the samples, and the documentation. There's also links to some of the ArcGIS tutorials and access to the full set. Also, in the Learn Key Concepts section that you saw earlier in the session, there are links to all of the key Pro concept documents, which were brought out in each one of the slides for each one of the demonstrations. There's also access to the Pro SDK group on GeoNet, where you can ask technical questions and get more information on SDK topics. Finally, there's links to technical session video recordings, which are located on YouTube, as well as the latest blog posts. The documentation wiki, which is on GitHub, is the location where you'll get all the documentation for all the Pro patterns and APIs. There are Pro concept documents, which can provide you extensive information on introductory topics. There are Pro guides, which walk you through how to get started and actually walk you through a full set of creating an add-in on key areas. There are Pro snippets, which you can leverage inside of your solutions, and other resource documents on advanced topics on the SDK. Next, the community samples that you saw. There are sample solutions for all the Pro patterns and APIs. And these are full Visual Studio solutions for all the Pro areas that you can download as a single zip file from GitHub. There's also sample data available online. The code is free to use in your own projects, and the set of samples are updated for each release of Pro. The ArcGIS Pro SDK group on GeoNet is very active, and I encourage you to participate in the community. There you can collaborate with other developers and Esri staff. You can ask your technical questions, and you can search on the threads. You can provide your feedback on the SDK directly within the group, and you can get access to product updates. Finally, the ArcGIS Marketplace is available for Esri Business Partners to create listings for Pro add-ins. These can be free and paid add-in listings. Finally, the ArcGIS Pro roadmap on GeoNet provides you the latest information on the roadmap for Pro. And included are some of the capabilities that are coming in the near term, the midterm, and the long term. I'd like to show you this page here on GeoNet. Here's the roadmap and the slide you just saw, as well as short descriptions on each of the new capabilities that are coming in the near, the midterm, and the long term. Finally, for more resources on learning Pro customization and extensibility, you can access the ArcGIS Pro SDK technical session materials available online on GitHub for all of the Pro SDK technical sessions in the Developer Summit. Thank you for your interest in the ArcGIS Pro SDK, and we look forward to seeing your great work building ArcGIS Pro add-ins.